If you've been like us and you've just been running from the heat, you may have lost track of where you're supposed to be going. It's not that complicated. Get back in your place, get back to work. So we've been fighting the heat just like everyone else has, but we've got some work that we need to get done. We've been hunkered down inside all afternoon. We're waiting for the temperature to drop, but we're also waiting for the storms to come. So we've got those storms on the horizon yet again. And this time we've got Comfrey that we want to deal with. We want to make sure we get this Comfrey moved before the rain gets started. But before we get to the Comfrey, y'all, isn't this hibiscus absolutely glorious? We've been waiting for this thing to show itself, and it finally has. It's done so in a big way. We are collecting these blooms and trying to get some of them dried up. We're going to be using those for tea. Just thought we'd share that with you before we get busy working on the Comfrey. Now, this Comfrey plant is probably going to stay where it's at for right now. If y'all remember, go back and look at the video. We were putting this bed in and we put cardboard all around this plant, and it has not rotted away yet. So we don't want to disturb that cardboard that's holding everything in place and keeping the weeds down. So we're going to let this Comfrey continue here. We do have some out underneath the willows that we do want to dig up, and we're going to show you how to break that apart and spread it out throughout your homestead. And we have kind of chosen our workplace carefully this afternoon. It's still a little bit warm out here, almost 90 degrees. And so we've picked something we could do up in the shade. The whole point is that there's always going to be work to do in whatever place you're supposed to occupy. And for us, that's the Return Homestead. So when we got to the point of actually coming back outside this afternoon and deciding we needed to get some work done, we weren't really sure what we needed to work on. We still have the front gate it's still in progress. That's a part of the whole project to bring the animals onto the property, but we have to fix that perimeter fence first. But that's a big project. It's going to take a lot of time, and it's out in the open, whereas this is up in the shade right now. So we're going to work here in the shade. But in chapter 2 of the book that I wrote, I did cover this, and I did mention that you have a place in this world, and that place is going to have a work that needs to be done. So if you're in your place, just get busy doing the work. And so that's what we're here to do. A homestead has lots of work to do with plants. In this case, we're working with Comfrey. We put this one in the ground as soon as we got to the property, and it's just really grown huge. This is probably going to have a substantial root on it. It's actually grown out in a couple of different places, so I'm just going to start hacking away at the base of this thing and see if we can get some of this root to come up. I don't know if you're like me and you've not only been paying attention to the fact that it's extremely hot, but maybe you notice that the warnings about the heat seemed a little bit, well, over the top this time. The most severe temperature we reached was 95 degrees here in northeastern Kentucky. And that's not really all that hot. I can certainly remember just in the recent past temperatures that pushed into the hundreds. And there weren't as many extreme heat warnings as we saw this time. And I always question things like that when they happen. I want to know why exactly they changed the warnings. Why is 92 degrees suddenly getting an extreme heat warning when it used to not? So I went and did my homework, did a little investigation, and sure enough, there have been some changes. Now, it's true, 92 degrees, not really all that hot, but there were some other factors at play. A couple of different things that have taken place and some that are still taking place. One of the new factors that's come into play is that the CDC is now participating in deciding what constitutes extreme heat. And they look at factors other than just temperature and humidity. And that used to be about all that a meteorologist would look at: temperature, humidity, barometric pressure. And he would try to give some idea how hot it was going to feel. And that's how they would make a determination about warnings about heat. The CDC looks at other factors. And so they're looking at things that will cause extreme health events. So anything that they see that has the potential to cause more people to go to the hospital gets their attention. And in this case, not only did we have some high temperatures that were settled in over some areas and the temperature wasn't moving at all, so everything was under a heat dome and it was going to bake for a little while, but there was also a set of solar storms that went through. And these were some coronal mass ejections that came off of the sun that did cause a G3 level solar storm. And most folks didn't even know it happened, and there really wasn't a whole lot of alarm in a G3 storm. But the CDC has noticed that these storms do increase the number of people going to the hospital with cardiac events, especially folks that are, have a little bit more of the gray hair on their head. So when you combine the G3 solar storm with a 92-degree temperature, that maybe it feels like it's 95, but there are some other impacts on the heart, lungs of some patients that does indicate that there might be a lot of them going to the hospital. Well, you put those two things together and yeah, there's a need for a warning and an extreme warning. Turns out there's some other issues at play as well. There's been some discussion that OSHA may not be doing a good enough job protecting folks who have to work out in temperatures like this. That there may need to be some tighter regulations around temperature. And while they haven't decided anything yet, they did want to start getting companies used to the idea that they may be held liable if they don't do the appropriate things when there's a heat warning. And so this was also an opportunity for them to do some corporate training. To get companies used to the idea that if they don't respond correctly and they put people in harm's way, they might be held accountable for it. So that also played into the decisions around issuing that extreme temperature warning. So much has changed in the last few years. Used to be your local meteorologist would just look at the temperature, the humidity, the barometric pressure. He'd look at the patterns of how the air is going to move over the next few days, and he'd give you a warning if he thought it was going to be dangerously hot. Nowadays, you've got folks from all over the planet contributing their 2 cents worth into whether or not they think it's too hot for people. Now, y'all may notice I dug the entire plant up here, and we did have to hack around in the roots a little bit. I didn't get quite as much of the root as I was hoping for, but the soil's fighting me. And it's okay, it's still in the soil. So these roots that are still down there, they're gonna grow right back. This has already been mowed down twice, and it's still a huge plant. So I'm not worried about the plant that's here. What I wanna do is try to spread this out. We want more of it on the property. Comfrey has a very deep taproot, and it produces a really good amount of good quality protein as well. So this is excellent forage for animals like the chickens. So we can supplement their diet to make sure that they get the minerals they need by adding Comfrey into the diet. Now, we're not only working on getting sheep or goats onto the property, we're not only looking at that livestock, we also want to make sure we figure out how to feed the chickens off of the property. Comfrey could be a large part of that. The feed that we're purchasing now is just a cracked corn, but it has been supplemented. So it does have a mineral supplement added to it. Comfrey could be one great way to add the minerals that the chickens will need without having to go to a commercial supplement. So that's why we want to spread this stuff out. We want to get a lot more of it. It's also a great fertilizer. You just cut this stuff down, throw it on the ground right around the plants that you have it planted near, and it then rots back into the soil, and all of those minerals get released back into the soil as nutrients for the plants. So we're going to be planting the Comfrey throughout the orchard. We've got some fruit trees out there. We're going to need to fertilize those and keep their mineral content high over time. And the Comfrey is going to help us do that. Every time the Comfrey grows up nice and big, we can just go cut it down, just throw those leaves on the ground right there around the trees. So let's go take a look at breaking this stuff apart. So Comfrey also has a long history in the pharmacological record. This is known as bone knit. As far back as the ancient Greeks, they would use this to help heal people who had broken bones. So there are some powerful medicines that are available in the leaf of the plant. Do your own research on exactly how to use those. We're most interested today in using this as a fertilizer. So we want to get it spread out throughout our orchard. And the easiest way to do this is just to kind of cut the plant apart. So we could take little chunks of the root and just plant the pieces of root in the ground, even just a couple of inches. So something as big as that is sufficient enough to grow another plant. So we'll set that aside. But I want to try to break these crowns out of here and just see if I can subdivide these roots up and create multiple plants out of this. Now, the reason I'm using the crowns is so we can see where they're planted so that we don't run the mower over them again. We do have cardboard around most of the trees in the orchard, and so we want to plant this stuff just outside of that cardboard. So this is the beauty of Comfrey. You don't have to buy a lot of it all at once. If you're a little bit patient and you let the stuff grow, you can get your own almost eternal supply of this stuff. It's really hard to get rid of. And kind of difficult to clear out of areas you don't want it in. So out of that one plant, we did get quite a few additional plants. We've got at least 12 tops here, and it looks like we've got 15 to 20 little sections of root. Any and all of that can and will produce new Comfrey plants. Now all we got to do is stick it in the ground out in the orchard. Look at this beautiful golden plum tree. This thing is absolutely glorious. I'm hoping we're going to see fruit off of this in the next year or so. And I did want to mention there is another way to propagate Comfrey. Instead of just digging up the root, you can work with the seeds. If you catch them in just the right time and you pull these seeds off and let them dry out, they will, of course, grow other plants. It's just really difficult to catch the seeds at the right time. They do come to maturity at different rates, and so you can get an entire flower that comes off, but only 2 of the seeds are actually ready to be harvested. And that's why typically it's done from the root. All you really got to do is get a little bit of the root in the ground and you're good to go. Planting Comfrey, probably one of the easiest things you're going to do, since all you really need to do is get the root in the ground. You don't have to dig a hole. Just open up a nice gap for the root. Get that thing shoved in there. And this is not rocket science, y'all. You just want to get the root in the ground, get it covered up. Rain's going to come along, get this thing watered in for us real good. And we'll end up with a Comfrey plant growing right here underneath the plum tree. As this thing gets larger and bushier, we'll come through every couple of weeks and just chop the leaves off, drop them on the ground. That's going to help the plum tree to get all of the nutrients out of the soil that it's needing. So the really big plant growing next to this Bartlett pear is a chicory. And I was trying to save this one, thinking I might want to harvest the roots off of this. You can harvest the chicory roots and roast that stuff up, make a coffee-like drink. But this particular plant's a little too close to the pear, and we've got plenty of them growing on the property. So in front of us here is a persimmon tree. Now this is one of those, well, inexpensive trees that we got and planted earlier in the season. You guys can go back and take a look at this video if you want to know more about that. And this persimmon tree doesn't have any branches or leaves on it yet. And I'm just checking the tree to see if it's even worth worrying about. Now it's really not that hard to do to check these trees. Just kind of press on it with your thumbnail. If you can feel that it's soft and rubbery like the bark of a living tree, it's probably alive. And this bark does still feel responsive. It's not all dried out and brittle. There are some growing tips right on the edges of the branch, and there's one up top. For some reason it just hasn't grown yet. Now it could be that there just wasn't a whole lot of root that we stuck in the ground with these things, and it's busy growing roots right now. Next year we'll see this thing pop out and it'll go crazy. Whether this persimmon lives or we have to replace it with another one, we do know we want a tree here. So we're going to go ahead and put the Comfrey in. So that's pretty much the process. All we're doing is breaking the root apart and getting it stuck in the ground. We're spreading that out throughout the entire orchard so that we have a little bit of fertilizer growing at the base of each one of these trees. Big shout out to William Bond. Good job. I loved your video on Comfrey. That's what we're basing all of our work off of here. We appreciate you staying out there and staying in the fight. So as the heat wave starts to clear and you finally get some clear air where you can get back outside, we'd like to encourage you to think about returning to the land, labor, and life. It's not really that complicated, folks. You have a place to be, and if you're in that place, there's going to be work to do. Just get busy doing it. We appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, just do us a favor and go ahead and open the window up and hit that subscribe button. While you've got the window open, hit the thumbs up icon. That'll let the algorithm know you enjoyed the video, so they'll share it out with more people. And we'll see you next time.